Hello, my name is Kieran and my partner is Aditya. Our topic for this science documentary is xenotransplantation. The article that we'll be discussing is titled Xenotransplantation. It is hosted on the website Medscape. The author is Tushar Samdani. Regarding the discovery of xenotransplantation, there is no specification to the website as to who discovered it. Before we begin our explanation, there is a term that you must understand. Grafting is when a portion of living tissue surgically transplanted from one part of an individual to another, or from one individual to another, for its adhesion and growth. Another term that you must understand is concordant and discordant transplants. I will further explain this in my common explanation of xenotransplantation. Now to begin the discussion of xenotransplantation and the science behind it. Xenotransplants, or xenografts, are viewed as one solution to the growing problem of the inadequate supply of human organs, and as a source of cells, tissues, and organs that show promise for treating a variety of human diseases. The immunological response to a xenograft depends in part on the cyclogenetic distance between the source animal and the host. Transplants between closely related species, for example human and non-human primates, or rats and guinea pigs, are called concordant transplants and are less likely to elicit an immediate reaction. However, transplants between more distantly related species, such as those from swine to humans, are called discordant transplants and elicit an immediate immunological reaction that destroys the endothelial lining of the blood vessel of the graft. Transplants of cells and tissues are not subject to immediate rejection since they lack blood vessels. Thus, discordant transplants of whole organs are rejected immediately, whereas the reaction does not occur with concordant transplants. Now that all of this has been said, how does this relate back to the topic of genetics, and why is it a significant discovery? Well, this closely relates to the topic of genetic engineering. Transplantation is currently facing a problem of organ shortage. Waiting lists are increasing, with some of these patients dying before any proposition of an organ transplant. One solution could be to increase the donor reservoir by using animal organs, that is, xenotransplantation. In the past, non-human primates were used as organ donors for humans, but are no longer considered as potential donors essentially for ethical reasons and for high risk of endogenous viral transmission to humans. Now pigs are considered for the future as animals of choice. In fact, pigs have been identified as potential donors primarily because of their physiology and anatomy being similar to humans. Moreover, there are no major ethical considerations regarding their use in medicine. Finally, their potential has been increased by the application of the most recent techniques of genetic manipulation, transgenesis, gene transfer to viral vector and cloning through nuclear transfer. However, some significant problems remain regarding their use. Immunological barriers and the risk of viral transmission, manipulations of pigs' genome targeting the human or NHP immune response, coagulation disorders, and the viral risk are research approaches that will be addressed.
Xenotransplantation is being used as an alternative to regular organ transplants. Currently in the US, there are over 100,000 patients requiring organ donations, but only 30,000 were given them. This is a result of a lack of organ donors. So, xenotransplantation researches into using animals such as pigs and using their organs to place them into human beings. Xenotransplantation will be advantageous for people of all ages and sizes. Even from when you are young, you still have a chance of requiring an organ transplant, but people over 50 are the ones who are most likely to receive an organ transplant, and therefore are the ones that will mainly benefit from this research. Despite xenotransplantation's great progress, there is still one major problem: rejection. There is no telling whether the human body will reject or accept the new transplanted organ. That is why currently we only use human organs, as the body will almost always accept this. But, for example, in the past, when humans have tried to use baboons or monkeys' hearts or major organs and tried to put them in the human body, they have had issues with the body rejecting this organ. Another concern with xenotransplantation is the risk of disease. When taking an organ from a separate animal, such as a pig, which encounters many bacteria, there is always the severe risk of the person who receives the organ to receive a dangerous disease. This is why xenotransplantation is still in the research progress to try and eliminate these sort of threats. Another concern with xenotransplantation, and most probably the most important one, is the ethical side. Many humans would not like to receive an organ from a pig. As a pig is considered a dirty animal, many humans are very against this concept. Another issue is that many humans are scared of what will happen when they receive this. Pigs are susceptible to zoonotic infections, which, like disease, can seriously affect the patient. Also, there is serious risk even with the general operation of the organ transplant. Traveling overseas will also be another issue, as when a human receives an organ from an animal such as a pig, there are many pathogens within this organ. Once traveling overseas, these pathogens may be released into the open and can cause catastrophe to people in that society. Although I've spoken negatively about xenotransplantation, the future is still bright for this research. Currently, about 30 people every single day die because they cannot receive an organ in time for them to have their transplant. This is because many people are against organ donation. In countries like New Zealand and Spain, once the person has died, the government can request their family to ask if they can donate their organs. But if you think about it, once you see that human dead body, and especially if it's a family or a relative, they do not want to give any part of that body away, as it is their last remembrance of them. Instead, we look into xenotransplantation, which uses animals instead of us to be able to keep us going for longer and using their organs. This is much better for everyone, and the future is bright for this research as it will help everybody who requires organ transplants and those who are against organ donation. Even though we do not donate organs, xenotransplantation means that all those people who are suffering from organ failure can receive a second chance. Despite all I've researched, I still have some questions about xenotransplantation. My first question about xenotransplantation is, how will we allow the whole human population to adopt this new form of organ transplantation? Currently, there is a lot of security in transplanting human organs, while xenotransplantation is a serious risk. I think the biggest issue with implementing xenotransplantation will be the concern that we are using foreign subjects to put them into our own human bodies. So how will we make people adopt this around the world? Another question I have about xenotransplantation is, how much will this cost? Organ transplants are quite expensive themselves. So how much will xenotransplantation cost? Xenotransplantation is a sophisticated process and is currently new research, which would mean that it would cost significantly higher than organ transplanting. So, what can we influence regular people in society to use xenotransplantation, which is much more expensive than regular organ donation? My final question about xenotransplantation is, how long is it until it is implemented into regular society? As we already know, many people die every day because we aren't able to supply enough organs for organ transplants. But xenotransplantation is being said as a solution for this. So, how are we going to be able to bring this in sooner than the 10 or 15 years it might take before almost everybody can afford to do it and there is no risk in using this form of organ transplanting?